Welcome everybody. So thanks for everybody for joining here. Today I'm just going to do the kickoff announcement and kind of we're going to talk through what the challenge will be like. Several of you have done the challenges before. You'll know really kind of how to go about it, which is great. You'll have a good setup of skills that you'll already be able to use. So you'll really have some, hopefully, much more success as you go through there if you did have troubles in later times. So I'm going to do it as a presentation. So it will be PowerPoint side. And I'll be talking on the side as we go through some of those things, just to keep you guys in mind. If you chat it, if you hit chat or something, I can answer any questions if you go for it. I will hopefully be able to see a little bit from your screen. So maybe you can like wave or something and I can answer any questions you might have or put you off of mute, but I do have you guys quieted right now. So at any point in time, just try to get my attention and I'll answer any questions as we go through. But starting off, let me just go ahead and get the right screen shared. Perfect. So our 28-day challenge, 4 total weeks. I'm gonna just be going through a few slides here as we go through here. This is one of my favorites and it's something I always show people. It's how we tend to build an athlete and our kind of hierarchy of skills when it comes to athletes. And really the main reason I show this for a lot of people is just the simple fact that the most important thing that we do is nutrition. So as an athlete, we can continue to condition ourselves, metabolic conditioning, which is your regular heart rate burn and go, cardio as they tend to call it. You can work on your body control, gymnastics movements, we can lift weights all we want, but if we're not paying attention to our nutrition, we're going to have a much harder time overcoming a lot of the battles. I know you can eat a bad diet and kind of deal with it, but you can always eat a good diet and have success regardless of exercise or not, even though the exercise can always be more beneficial. Some of the things that we'll be talking about today, just some of the tips to success, goal setting, some of the foundations of what our nutrition, what we're looking for, interpreting the meal plan that we'll be getting, as well as the next steps beyond this presentation. And we just got Samantha in. I might have you on mute, Samantha. So I do have this recording right now if you miss some of the stuff. And if you do have any questions, you can wave at the screen. I can see you and I will answer as best as I can. Today, so throughout the challenge, our 28-day challenge, what are some of the things that we should focus on? First off, and I will send this in an email all tomorrow as I get everyone's information all set up in the system because I did have some more people sign up today, is I want you guys to set a 4-week challenge goal. So what is a goal that you are looking to attain throughout this initial 4-week challenge? A good goal for me has always been 1, maybe a little bit more pounds per week. So if I can get 1 pound a week, I'm doing really, really well. 1.5 pounds is an incredible achievement, putting around 6 pounds throughout the 4 weeks. We have had some large changes because as people start to eat healthier and healthier, you see less inflammation. People start to cut a little bit of just body fat as well as build some muscle mass. So you start to see compositional changes that can be larger, but real set goals are something that is specific, that is attainable, that is measurable, and is realistic as we go through there. And especially as it goes to this is time sensitive. Can I do this in the 4 weeks? And then also when you start to develop your 4-week goal, start to look a little bit further ahead as well towards doing a 3-month goal, like something that you can look beyond the challenge and so that you have something motivating you once the challenge actually ends. Nutrition should not be a 4-week long problem. It should be a lifelong problem. And that's what it is we go through a lot of ups and downs, but we really want to be focusing on the long haul when it comes to what we're eating and how we're fueling our bodies. Through the challenge, are you eating consistently? So are you having a breakfast, a lunch, and a dinner? And then as well as that, are you having snacks in between those meals that work within your macros, what your goals are when it comes to the nutrients we're going to be going through. And then is it a good spread through the day? For example, for breakfast, am I having a cup of coffee? Is my lunch a bag of carrots? And is my dinner going out to Mexican food and having a gigantic platter with tons of chips? I know as much as I'd love to say that would be something I would love to do, that is not going to be the best way to attack your nutrition goal. So make sure it's a good spread throughout the day. Do you balance every meal, snack, with sources of protein, carbs, and fats? Those are our three, the main things called macronutrients. The three big pieces to all of food we eat is comprised of those three pieces. Protein, our building blocks, carbs, and fat being our main energy sources. And we'll talk a little bit more about that here coming up in just a second. Are you drinking 80 ounces of water a day? Now that's going to be our main goal, is 80 ounces. I'd say anyone who gets 60 ounces a day is doing fantastic. 60 ounces would be 12 ounces at every meal plus 2 snacks. That's right there at 60 ounces. If you're having an extra drink of 12 ounces, you're almost at that 80 ounce goal. And let's just say we center that around maybe your workout or something in that sense. Keeping in mind, we're talking about water, straight H2O, so no juices. Alcohols do not count as your liquids. Coffee doesn't count as your liquids. Some of the ones I do get asked, seltzer water, I would be totally okay with that, as long as it is not the only source of your water throughout the day. Are you eating around your workout? So especially if you are working out during these challenges, making sure that you are hydrating and you are having a protein and a carb source after your workouts to best refuel and replenish your body. Then from there, when it comes to eating out, trying to avoid the bad choices when you do. So choose the best options that are available for when you do go out, as well as limiting intake, because many of the meals that we do order when we do go out are much more food than we would likely need or require, and could easily be probably cut in half and spread multiple ways throughout the day. So tracking food is going to be another one of the most important aspects that we can focus on throughout this challenge. I will be able to see when you link your MyFitnessPal with the HSN application, I'll be able to see what your daily intake looks like, how much protein, how much fat, how many carbs. And that really making sure that you're logging and being honest with it is going to be able to give me the proper setup to tell you what we need to work on, what we need to change, and how we can go about that. And then the last thing is just choosing quality foods over quantity. Make sure that we're looking for pure vegetables as much as we can, looking for good solid sources of protein that are probably low in fat, and looking for fat sources that come from vegetables and are on the healthier option when they are in our proteins. And we'll talk a bit about that as well. Now, if you aren't measuring, and even if you are, one of the best things that we can focus on is this plate method. And we talk a lot about this just on the general side. And I really like, this is kind of the newer diagram I've been able to find for the plate method. But the plate method cuts a plate in half, and it puts half of your plate as vegetables. So looking at your broccoli, asparagus, your squashes, etc., on the low side of your carbohydrate intake. The other quarter there, when we cut the other half inside, is going to be your starches. So those are your more high octane carbohydrates, what you tend to see in potatoes, rices, beans, quinoa. Some of the, just mostly I would say root vegetables is where you get the bulk of those starch sides from, and making sure that we keep it at that quarter side. And then the last quarter is going to be your protein source. And this is where I like how they put in there that big circle of fat. Now, the most likely you're going to be getting a bulk of your fat from your protein sources, unless you're eating leaner cuts of meat. So if you're eating your turkeys or your chicken breasts and not chicken thighs, then likely you're going to need to introduce more fat into your diet. And that's where most people will start to use it on their vegetables, whether they're sauteing the vegetables in olive oil or giving a light coating, or even with like a salad and a slight salad dressing. Maybe it's a vinaigrette or something in that sense. So keeping in mind, like if you are having a fattier meat like salmon, which does tend to have a little bit higher fat count, even though that fat is really, really good for you. If we're adding more fat on other pieces of the meal, maybe I'm throwing butter on my rices and all that stuff, then we will likely see that increase in weight versus our decrease we're searching for. Now, protein, the basics of protein. The big things with this is that protein is what creates the body's structure, and it helps protect all of our systems. So protein is one of the most important aspects when it comes to our macronutrients of the three. I tend to tell people to focus on hitting your protein goal, and then with your remaining macros, look to balance out your carbohydrates and your fats. Many times, as I find, as people start to log a lot of their foods, the proteins are much lower in their intake. So instead of being a 30%, perhaps they're only getting 15% or 20% protein. And then that ups that carbohydrate and fat content that they tend to have in their diet, which is much easier for the body to transfer into fat storage. So protein much harder to turn into fat storage based off of what it is comprised of and how the body has to just break it down as it digests. So always really be focusing on much as we can on hitting our protein goals, and we'll talk about our goals here a little bit later as you choose. So when I do choose meats, pro tips on that side is I would say is choose lean meats as much as possible. So you're looking at your chicken breasts and many of the just like regular fishes in general, not on that side of like the salmon, which tends to be a fattier cut. And then limit your moderate. So a moderate fat protein would have 3 to 4 grams of fat per ounce of meat. So 3 to 4 grams, about an ounce of fat. So, and then into the eliminating high fat content. So prime rib. Now that being said, can you not eat prime rib? No, you can definitely eat prime rib. I would fight to cut off some of the extra fat storage and not eat straight fat. Simple as that. Just because of that extra amount of energy that does provide. Fat is not bad for you. It is necessary. There is not a necessary carb, but there is necessary fats. So do keep in mind your body needs them. It just doesn't need excess of them. And then, so that's where you can see the like trim fat before cooking. And then also utilizing a grill, try not to deep fry. The air fryer is a great option to get that fried crispiness without adding all the extra oils. And then baking foods as much as possible. For our carbohydrates or the carbs, this is your main source of fuel for your body. And especially if you're finding yourself exercising regularly, that is where your body is going to be stealing a lot of that energy stores to push you during a workout. When we look to that, trying to balance everything else, you're going to see that 30% is going to be fat, 40% is going to be carbohydrates, and then 30% is going to be your protein fat side. So, so you kind of have that like even-ish numbers, but there is a little bit higher carbohydrate intake based on how that fuel is required for what we do, especially as athletes. Keeping that in mind, as much as you can, be looking to make that vegetables as much as possible, or pure foods as in fruits and squashes, root vegetables, etc. Look for low glycemic content vegetables and carbohydrates. Low glycemic, and we can talk a little bit about that, is just basically the sugar content in some things. For example, fruits, a high glycemic fruit would be like a banana or a mango that has an incredible amount of sugar, and it'll jack your blood sugar up. That's what they mean by high glycemic, is it's going to knock that blood sugar up, and then your body has to release a bunch of insulin to actually take care of that blood sugar, to take it out of the blood. So be looking for those lower contact ones. One of the best ones when it comes to fruits are berries. Berries are a low glycemic. So I tend to look for certain objects in that side. If you really want to go deep into that, I do have a sheet I can give you about good options, medium side options, and then bad red options. And that not saying that they're bad, it just needs to be highly limited in how much we tend to eat of those. And then, as I said, load up. Half of your plate should be that non-starchy vegetable side. Last one is your fat. So fat, essential fatty acids. About 30% of energy should be taken in from your fats. Most likely you're going to see this in your olive oils, whatever you're cooking in with, and then it'll likely also come in your meat sources. Now, I tend to talk a lot about meat. That doesn't mean you have to eat meat to hit your protein goals. I do have meal plans for vegetarians and vegans as well. Just make sure you let me know ahead of time so that I can make sure to get you that one. Also, making sure consuming that fat in moderation. And the big reason that we say in moderation is just because it's more caloric dense. So 1 gram of your protein is 4 calories. 1 gram of your carbohydrates is 4 calories. 1 gram of fat is 9 calories. So pound for pound, it packs 2.2 to 5 times as much calories in it. So keeping that in mind, that's the main reason you're going to see that the grams that you are for your goal intake of fat is going to be much lower than protein and fat, even though I tell you it's an even keel. And that's just because of how energy dense it is. And then making sure, just limiting processed foods, fried foods as much as possible. Interpreting the meal plan. So in your meal plan, and let me real quick show you. Takes me just a second to get each of these pieces. So your HSN app, when you eventually get into it and logged in, now I'm going to be putting everyone's meal plans in tomorrow as I get everything settled up. Your meal plan will be set up, and it actually will say it in the application as plans. And when you click on that plan section in your application, which on the application on your phone, it'll be on the bottom left, just to the right of the far left button. It will have the full meal plan as well as your target goals when it comes to calories, fats, proteins, and carbohydrates. Up at the top here, you'll see calories. So for me, this tends to be what I just shoot for when I'm just not working out too much and I'm just looking at a general even keel, is 1,820 calories. My protein, about 30%, 140 grams. Carbohydrates, about 40%, 180 grams. And my fats at that 30%, 60 grams. So that's where you see much lower than your other numbers, but that's just because of that caloric density. And then the meal plan itself, what you will have is it'll look like this. Is week 1, it'll have a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It'll also have on the next page is your Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It'll break it down into a breakfast, a snack, and I can probably widen this out a little bit. Let me see. There you go. It'll have your breakfast, a snack, a lunch, a snack, and a dinner. Of these things, it has different meals for every single breakfast. That being said, the meal plan itself is a total guideline. It is not a set in stone law of what you should eat breakfast 1, breakfast 2, breakfast 3. So I tend to recommend for me, especially as I choose something I like egg muffins or protein pancakes. And likelihood is I'm going to have that for breakfast multiple times throughout the week. I might even have it for the entire week, and then next week I may switch to something else just to switch it up a little bit. Personally, I'm one of those weird people that can eat the same thing constantly, so my breakfasts just don't change. They just stay the same. Every blue moon, maybe something switches out, something leaves, something else comes in, but for the most part, it stays the same. I change up my dinners pretty much nightly, and I use my dinners as time to cook for my lunches the next day. So I'll make extra at dinner and then make pre-made meals for the later, for the next day or later in the week. Each of the snack options that you will see, we tend to recommend, as we said, about between your breakfast and lunch, have a snack, and between your lunch and dinner. There's also the post-recovery or post-workout snack in there for days when you do work out. And for this one, it's very simple. This is just your 12 ounces of water with a recovery protein, 12 ounces of almond milk in this one. What that's looking for is just to have a protein and some type of carbohydrate with it. Whether that is, hey, I'm going to have a protein shake with water and I'm going to have some applesauce, that would also work just as fine as well. So a couple things on the meal plan that you'll notice. So you'll see some of these things have 3 asterisk marks right beside it. That, if you go to Healthy Steps Nutrition, this whole site, HSN, healthystepsnutrition.com/healthy recipes, you will be able to find any of these 3 asterisk marks recipes on the website. I highly recommend take a look at it because there are far more recipes there than there are in the meal plan. So you'll be able to find some really, really cool snack options, dinner options, dessert options, all kinds of different things that can help you stay on track. And then the last thing, 6 ounces. For example, you're going to have a general meal plan and it may say something like 4 to 6 ounces. When grabbing something and you're looking at the meal plan and it says 4 to 6 ounces. If you're looking to lose weight and you're a smaller person in general, small statured person, look to be on that lower side. If you are, it's basically like if you are a smaller person, but you are looking for performance, then you're going to be in the middle. If you're a guy, you tend to be on the middle side if you're looking to lose weight. And if you're a performance side, you'll tend to be on the far right of that. So if it was 4 to 6 ounces, I would probably say for me, I would want like 5. I tend to be pretty average. Maybe some days if I'm working out multiple days in a row, I'll look to be looking at 6 ounces of that just to make sure I'm protecting my muscles and refreshing as much as possible. So also these 6 ounces are cooked weights. So if you are looking, hey, I'm going to have 4 or 6 ounces of chicken tonight, that's not weigh out 6 ounces and then cook it. That's cook your chicken, and then whatever 6 ounces is after that fact, that's what I'm going to eat. That is the same, especially when it comes to like the brown rice, or if it is regular rice or quinoa or something. If you're going to have a cup of something in that sense, then that is cooked weight cup. Not a cup uncooked and then mixed with water, which would probably make somewhere around nearly 3 cups of actual food. So make sure weights are cooked. There's those recipes with the 3 asterisk marks on the Healthy Steps Nutrition site, and then use this as a guideline. Choose things that work for you, that you will enjoy and you find that you will eat regularly. If you do not like the snacks, like let's just say you're not a snack person or your job just doesn't allow you to have snacks, like it's just timing wise doesn't work, incorporate that nutrition into your breakfast or your lunch or your dinner. Make sure that you're still spreading it out nice and evenly, but we want to make sure that we're having that food as best as we can throughout the day, even if it is a little bit more spread without the snacks. I say the most important time to have a snack, though, is post-workout. That's going to be your most important snack because your body's going to be the most hungry that it is, at least if not at that moment, later it will be. And that can help kind of push off that hunger that might hit much harder later, as well as just help refresh the body. Recovery is very important. All right, let me go back to the presentation. Good. So let's make sure I didn't move any of these things. All are cooked. Log your food as best you can in MyFitnessPal. I will say in the MyFitnessPal, any of the recipes from Healthy Steps Nutrition will, you could actually search Healthy Steps Nutrition, not comma, bookend. I can't think of it right now. Wow, English was not I'm a math guy. And then it'll say official thing. So if you put Healthy Steps Nutrition official, that was loaded by them at Healthy Steps Nutrition. There are some where people have put them in there and it'll say like HSN or Healthy Steps, nothing else or something. But if it says the Healthy Steps Nutrition brackets, that was it, I think, brackets official. Then you will see the actual recipes. So especially if you are cooking from the meal plan and you're using those recipes, that'll make it as easy as possible to log your food in MyFitnessPal. Meal prepping. So meal prepping, one of the big important factors that we use. Now, I did a presentation about this last week on Thursday. I did record it. It's in the YouTube section for Kitsap CrossFit, as well as shared on Facebook. This will also be challenge week number 1, what I want you guys to do, which is I want you guys to prep a meal this week. Now, my choice for me is I would choose a meal that causes me the most difficulty. Maybe I don't regularly eat breakfast. Boom, I'm going to meal prep breakfast so I have it quick and easy and it's ready for me. Or maybe it's that I always forget to deal with lunch when I'm going to work and I find myself constantly going out to eat. Then I'm going to make sure that I'm meal prepping my lunch. So with that, I'm going to have you meal prep your something for the week. And then I want you guys to share that in our group forum with everyone. Take a picture of it. What did you do? What was the hard parts about it? What did you find that was successful about it? And then people can share what their successes are. Maybe someone who had a struggle with certain aspects you've dealt with before, and you can share something that helped you get through that. Those are a great part for everyone, including myself, to be able to share with people other pieces. But every challenge I've ever had, someone's put something up there that I didn't think about or I didn't know about And I always get to learn new cool aspects with that. So please do share as much as you can or want on the group page. That will be where we kind of share our challenge aspects too. Choose it this weekend if you can, but if you're doing it during the week, that's totally fine. Find a day that works best for you. The 3 compartment containers that I talked about in the previous video is really, really helpful for 1, that whole plate method, and 2, just having quick and easy containers to hold meals in for later. Some of the helpful tools, an Instapot or a crock pot can be incredibly helpful. A muffin tin, do make sure that you have some type of scale and then measuring cups in some way so that it is easier when you're starting to create your own recipes to create those in MyFitnessPal for you to track later. And like I said, like if you don't mind having the same thing, it can be very, very helpful. Find some staple recipes that you really do enjoy that you don't mind having multiple times and try to cook those and maybe even like freeze some for later and easy use later or easy access later. If you are planning, and I will share this page out with everyone, this is like my family dinner planner. It has basically just, in the actual one, it won't have these examples, but it'll just say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then you can choose kind of from there, what kind of things are we going to be making? Now, you don't have to be as specific as like, what is the protein? What is the carbohydrate? What is the fat? What are my vegetables, etc. But it could be like, hey, I'm going to have like, one of our big ones is zucchini filled with a marinara meat sauce. We might do that and I can look into it and think of like some of the things that would go well with that. For me, it's usually like some type of Caesar salad or something. But I can set that in for Monday, and then Tuesday we might do carnitas, and Wednesday we might do teriyaki chicken. So starting to set up some of those things, it's really nice to have a plan going forward for what you're going to be doing for the week, especially when things don't go as planned in the week. Maybe you'll have those foods already set aside, ready to cook in some way, shape, or form when you're shopping earlier in that week. Consistency. So I do try as much as you can to eat every 3 hours. And that's just going to keep your metabolism pushing, and it'll help you to avoid overeating in other meals, like especially if you're like me, if you're a binge eater at night, because likelihood is maybe you didn't eat enough in the breakfast, lunch, or the snack side. Eating that consistent 3 or so hours can really help push off that later craving where you tend to overeat after dinner. Always pair your proteins with some carbohydrates at every of the meals and snacks. That's just going to make sure that your body has that energy to really utilize the protein that you're taking in. Plan your meals ahead of time, as we just said, and then it is not a bad idea to set timers if you are someone who forgets to eat, to force yourself to not only eat, but also to drink, making sure that you're having enough water throughout the day. If you're not a morning person, smoothies are great options, Greek yogurt parfaits. There's all kinds of different things that we can do, especially in the morning side. If you do work out, look to have things that are easily digestible and on the go. So snacks, coolers, things you can do while on the road, especially if you are going to be traveling or anything like that. Do your best to plan ahead what kind of snacks you can have that will be easily and accessible, and plan a little bit for what kind of meals you might be having along the way, especially if you're going to be going out to eat. Look at menus ahead of time. I tend to tell people all the time, I've worked in the restaurant industry. It can be frustrating for people who want to change out meals, but I have never felt bad about it because you're paying the money. And even when I was a bartender and a server, I mean, that person they're going to spend the money on something. They should get what they want and what is the healthier option for them, or it may not be that that's the healthier option. What's what they want. But for me, if you can ask for things that are not fried, if you can ask for things that are on the side with just straight vegetables or salad side, look for dressings on the side so that you can add them as you need to your salads or meals. Timing. So this is just a very general side for timing. remember, it's different for everyone. Breakfast, 7 to 9. But that can change. If it's the first thing you're doing in the morning is going to the gym, then maybe look to have something small like yogurt and a banana. But thinking something that has a little bit of protein and carbohydrates before you get out and work out, but nothing too heavy. And then look to have the rest of your breakfast or a secondary large snack after you work out to help with that breakfast side. Snack time, 10 a.m. Snacks should be something around 100 to 200 calories, depending on what your goals are. If you aren't a snack person, as I said, incorporate those into your meals. Lunch in the midday, and then looking for that snack time in between lunch and dinner. It is a very important snack in the later day. If you find yourself having lunch at like 11, but you tend not to have dinner until 7 p.m. If you do have large gaps, especially in that kind of a time, you will likely find yourself eating dinner and then eating much more afterwards or going back for seconds or thirds if you're not having some type of snack in that middle day. So do be looking for that because it is very important to help push off any of that overeating on the after fact. Hydration. Water plays a big role in your performance and your weight loss. So do make sure that you're looking for that 80 ounces a day as best you can. 12 ounces at every meal is going to be one of the big sides that will really help put you into that category. And then with the little extra boost, you can hit that true 80. But if you're getting 60 ounces, as I said, really, really doing great so far. Juices and sodas packed with additional sugars, tons of extra carbohydrates, and they jack your blood sugar up. I would highly avoid them as much as possible. I mean, having one here and there is not going to destroy you, but it is not the best options when you're looking to attain certain weight goals or composition changes. If you don't like the taste of water, some of the things, try mixing it with either some fresh fruit, mint or cucumber. Any of the low calorie or even calorie free additives can be very well brought in with some people. I like seltzer water. That tends to be my flavor saver for most things. That, or I'll do mint and some lime, and I'll mix it in with my larger container of water before I go to work or such. So, and that will help me keep drinking and not also give me that just overall H2O fatigue, which regular water, not so much fun all the time. Alcohol. Be mindful of what you're having in your drinks. I'm not going to tell you not to drink, but I will say this: the closer you stick to the meal plan, the closer you stick to those goals, and drinking just regular water, the better results you will have. So just be looking for avoiding mixers of juice, the soda, any of the frozen drinks that tend to have much, much higher sugar contents. Also, alcohol increases recovery time. So it makes it harder for your body to refresh itself. So especially if you are having alcohol after workouts, it can prolong some of that soreness. Maybe you've been having, you're like, man, it's 3 days. What did I do? Well, maybe I had a couple too many beers after I worked out or so. Try to stick to, if you are, 1 glass of a light beer, something of a mixed drink with water or club soda. If I do have one, maybe I tend to have like a small drink of whiskey straight with a little bit of ice. And then I drink plenty of water around it to make sure that I stay on cue. Now, I know we all tend to have a couple drinks from here and there, but as much as we can, trying to avoid them and looking for the best options is really, really going to be beneficial in the long range. And make sure, drink water if you are having alcohol. More water helps at that point in time. Eating around your workout. Like I said, morning warriors, looking for those protein carbs. If you are someone who eats before your workout, that will stay in your system. It's not like all of a sudden it's like, now I finished my workout, I'm supposed to have nutrition now. If you are having a like recovery style drink before you work out, maybe you just didn't have a good snack in there, or lunch was a little earlier and now you're going to a later workout. It is okay to have some of that and then use that as kind of your overall nutrition around your workout. So do keep that in mind. Some of the best protein options is whey over soy. Whey just tends to be utilized better by the body than soy protein. But soy protein in general, really good option if you can't have whey. And then less is more. And in the sense of, if you are buying proteins, things that are pretty straightforward. I like to buy proteins that have like 25 grams of protein and then has like only 3 grams of carbohydrates and 1 gram of fat. I like things that I can add the coconut water, or I can add applesauce, or I can add, some people will use almond, like chocolate almond milk, something that gives you that carbohydrate push, but I can use my pretty much plain protein just to get the protein in without adding a bunch of extra additives. So one of the best ones that that we recommend is the Ascent protein. Ascent protein is a really, really clean protein that tends to get rave reviews around athletes in the general sense. What about coffee? I always like to bring up coffee. Coffee is not going to be a hydrating thing, so don't think of it as water. But most of us do drink lots of coffee in general, so I like to bring it up. Be careful of what we're adding to coffee, or some of the fast style drinks that many people drink from like Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts, etc. So like some of those like Frappuccinos can have huge amounts of sugar. Be looking to add like good options could be like an almond milk instead of cream and sugar, or just sticking with just a little bit of half and half and not too much. Drinking black coffee can be fine, but it can be rough on the gut for some people, just the amount of acids that it can have. Coffee does have a half-life of 8 to 12 hours. So if you're drinking coffee at noon, you might not see that going out of your system or burning out until you're going to bed. So I try to avoid having coffee after noon for everyone, because even though you may drink coffee and you can fall asleep, hey, I drink coffee and I can fall asleep just fine. While you may physically be able to fall asleep, your body's processes are still having to deal with processing caffeine. So it may throw off your sleep cycles, or it may not make your sleep as refreshing or resetting as you may want. So do keep that in mind if you are drinking coffee, that it can throw off things if you're having large quantities or more in the later afternoon times. Sleep. Sleep is a major priority that I want everyone to focus on a little bit. So your goal is to get at least a minimum of 6 hours sleep a night. 6 hours, not too bad to get, but if you could get 7 or 8, you will do even better. Sleep regulates a lot of the hormones that we have to deal with. The main ones that it deals with, food is cortisol for stress, your ghrelin and leptin, which makes you satisfied for food, and one that makes you hungry for food. It can really, if you're getting less than 6 hours of sleep, that hormone, that ghrelin hormone that increases your want for food and makes you incredibly hungry, will start to spike, because your body's like, I'm not getting sleep, so I better start eating like crazy to deal with this. So some of the best athletes in the world not only sleep good 8 hours a night, but they also take naps throughout the day. And it's something that a lot of people forego, thinking like sleeping's for the weak. I would say no, sleeping is for the strong for sure. So if you are more tired than usual, if you're less satisfied from what you eat, or you find you're more stressed through the day, really do be fighting for more sleep at night as best you can. And once again, if that caffeines are in there in the later parts, could also be affecting that as well. Now, there's in the HSN app, you may have noticed we have our August 2020 Nutrition Challenge group. This is where you'll be posting your challenge pictures, your challenge questions, comments back to each other. Especially when it comes to the meal prep portion, you'll probably be putting the meal prep picture up on there, what you did, and then people can congratulate you, say what they did and what things they liked about yours, or even ask for recipes as you go through there. So do use that as much as you'd like. I will also be doing private messages. So the group side, you can see at the very top of that HSN picture there, that would be your group. You'll see an August 2020 Nutrition Challenge. You'll be able to click that, and that'll be the group side. And then underneath that, you'll see the private messages, and there'll be private messages are the ones from me that actually show the Kitsap CrossFit symbol. It says KCF. Any messages from that are coming from me. There is one thing that I will mention. As many of you know, I'm getting married in 2 weekends. So in 2 weekends, I know, yay! In 2 weekends, I'm going to be taking the Thursday, Friday, and then the following Monday off at any point in time. And I'm going to have all the things automatically send. But if you have any questions, ask them as you would normally. Dan is going to be answering those questions. Likelihood is he probably won't have anyone asking things very much. But if there is anything and you're messaging around and you're waiting for things, just keep in mind Dan will be around during that weekend when I will likely be indisposed. Now, it's time to get started. So the big side for what I want you guys to do this coming week is I want you guys to just brainstorm some ideas of what you want to do for your first food prep adventure. What meal causes you the most problems? Most people it's breakfast. A lot of other people's it tends to be lunch. Dinner tends to be the least complicated for some people, and I think that's just because people think of dinner as that true meal of like, let's get together with the family. At least I hope so. So keeping in mind, choose an option and then let's work upon that one. What recipes can help you prepare for those problems? Maybe it's because you're on the run, so what things can you do that are quick? Or maybe it's just what's easy, like what can I do that will keep me moving as I go through there. What do you need to start? Shopping, so start thinking about maybe a shopping list, getting some of the basics you'll need. Vegetables tend to be the things that disappear the quickest, so maybe even looking for packages of frozen stir-fried vegetables, things that are around that you can make easy at a time of need. And then what time do you have to make it happen? So whether that's, am I doing this on a Sunday? Do I know that Wednesdays are the days when I can finally get down to business? Find a time, set aside that time, and make it about you or the food and the fam. So really highly recommend that. For me, I tend to tell people a lot of times, anytime I cook is a time for me to food prep. And in that sense of, if I'm making dinner, I don't make 2 dinners, one for Amelia and I, or Amelia doesn't do that for just us. We make an extra dose just so that we have something we can throw into the fridge and we can put that away on times of need. Whether that is that I'm going to have that for lunch, or whether that is, man, I just forgot about eating dinner tonight and something was happening and we came home both really late because of work. We have some extra meals that we already have set aside, and maybe all we got to do is add a vegetable to it. Thank you, everybody. That is, in a nutshell, the basics of the challenge that we're going to be going through. Now, I will say, and I'm going to, let me stop share here. There we go. I do want to mention there's a couple things that I'm going to be sending out tomorrow. So tomorrow, I'm going to put everything else into the system that's not already in there. So meal plans, your numbers will go in there. So your proteins, your fats, your carbohydrate goals will go in there, which I do want you to transfer to your MyFitnessPal application. There'll be a couple things that I'm going to send you in just a separate email. One of those is your meal plan will come in an email as well. I'm going to put that in there. That dinner meal planner that I showed a picture of in the presentation, I'm going to send a piece with that in it. The nutrition challenge workbook, which will look like this. Now, I'll send it with this as an option for you to print, but I will have this at the gym as well. So if you come into the gym, I will be able to give you one of these. This just has like goal setting session pieces, some of the basics of what proteins, fats, and carbohydrates are, how to structure meals. It's a little bit more in-depth pieces of what I showed you in the presentation. I will also send you the sheet of our nutrition challenge lifestyle factor sheet. So this has your hydration, nutrition, exercise, sleep, and stress relief. These would be each of them, you get a point every single day. So there's 5 aspects and you can get a point for each one. If you hit your goals for nutrition or you're within 80-90% of it, then give yourself a point. If you drank your 80 ounces or at least got 60 ounces, you get yourself a point for hydration. Stress relief is the one that doesn't exactly translate to like, yes, I get a point for that. Is getting out there, spending 15 to 20, maybe even 30 minutes for something for yourself that can help you relax and refresh from all the stressors of the day. That could be walking the dog. That could be some type of craft that you enjoy. I like to tie flies. I tell people that. That tends to be my stress relief time because I really can't do anything other than focus on these little minute aspects. So I can really kind of turn off the brain to the general stressors of the world. So I will send that in an email tomorrow as well, but you can also get a physical copy from me at the gym if you don't want to deal with printing it out. And then the last little thing in the email I'll send out is a general explanation that goes in depth into how to log food with MyFitnessPal. It's kind of hard to do this virtually over Zoom. So I do want to make sure that I send something to you that will give you a good rundown of how to log food, the easiest ways to do it, and the different aspects of recipes and meals that you might end up using throughout the challenge and beyond. I will say, when it comes to logging food, do your best. Don't worry about it being 100% perfect. Find options that are as close as you can to what you are eating. And then once you start to get the general development of meals in there, it becomes much easier because your most recent list and your history of foods, especially if you eat similar foods day to day, will make it super easy to transfer those meal pieces right on over to your log. As I said, very important that you do log your food. So if you are having trouble with that, talk to me and we can develop a plan to get that as best settled as possible. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm going to try to unmute you guys. I can't unmute Samantha though. There he is. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, be awaiting emails tomorrow. There'll be probably 2. Maybe even 3. And then also the setup within the systems. And if you have any questions, remember, never hesitate to ask. I will reach out to people on Wednesday. That tends to be the day that I reach out to everyone about nutrition. So I do want you to make sure, if you can, be waiting for that, but that doesn't mean that's the only time I expect to talk to you. So message me as much as you want or go through the group forum.
I do have a question.
Perfect.
I have a question around avocados. So I notice on, most of what's on like the meal plan. So it comes up that the 2 tablespoons of avocado and I've never seen 2 tablespoons actually in the fitness app. I don't think.
Oh, in the
it'll have like
logging.
Yeah. So it'll have like a half of avocado. But I'm wondering, when people talk about 2 tablespoons, are they talking about real avocado, or is it like 2 tablespoons of like holy guacamole? Or
it does mean real avocado, 2 tablespoons. The tricky thing is, so if you look into MyFitnessPal, and I'll actually open it up real quick, and I'll try to show it through my screen real quick. Okay. When adding in something like avocado, so let me search one real quick. Avocado, medium avocado. So and it's going to be hard for you to see really, but there's the top pieces when you choose an option, and it'll say avocado, and this one just said like 1 medium avocado. If I go to serving size, which is going to be kind of one of the upper pieces, if I click on serving size, it'll give me a list of different options. And I know you can't see that because of the light, but I'll read some of them. Are 1 avocado, 1 gram, 1 ounce, 322 grams, 11.4 ounces, or 1 pound. So I can go in there and change some of the options around what the actual serving size is. Now, if I do find avocado search, let's see here. Sometimes I'll have to check like a couple different options of avocado before I find one that has a serving size as tablespoons. One other way that you can do that is if you take a tablespoon and then you weigh your tablespoon measuring cup, you set it on the weight, and then you cut it open, or you take a tablespoon of avocado and then you weigh it. It'll also give you a weight, and you can do either grams or ounces from there as well if you're looking to find a good option. The one trick that is one of the weird things with MyFitnessPal is that sometimes the serving sizes don't match up perfectly. And
Yeah.
so do your best to kind of find what is the approximate with that. I would say 2 tablespoons is probably about a quarter of an avocado in general.
Yeah, it's kind of tricky because like because for me, and I'm not sure what my fat will be yet, but
Mm,
I think it's right around 42 or something like that, 42 grams. Um, that isn't like a whole lot. So like,
yeah.
whereas like for me not to eat all of my calories, like the calories in an avocado is a lot, which would benefit, my calorie count, because lots of times I'm still
A little bit
fighting to
low.
get, yeah.
Yeah. And
So,
I would
but
say if you're like, let's say you're low on your calories, like let's say your goal was like 1300 and you're at 1100. I would say, and let's say we hit protein, but my carbohydrates are a little low and my fat's high. And if I had a little bit more fat, but I've been killing my protein job, I got protein on the thing. Today I went a little high on fat. I kept my carbohydrates low. As long as you're balancing your fats and your carbohydrates, but hitting that umbrella of calories, you're doing a great job. There's less worries about like, okay, am I hitting 42? Or am I balancing my carbohydrates and my fats to make sure that I'm getting a good amount of both of them, but I'm not ramping both of them high or one super high and keeping one kind of in the general sense. That's the biggest thing. And so focusing on hit that protein. And then if you do, I know it's tough with certain measuring styles, but finding the right things that work best for you. So
I
if you're a
got a
little high
better
on those,
scale.
don't worry about that.
Okay, and I got a better scale to kind of help with
Oh,
some of those
cool.
measuring things than mine was only measuring ounces, and
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
so
tend to recommend it have ounces and grams.
yeah.
Those are the two main ones that people use, ounces and grams.
Okay.
Yeah. How about you, Samantha?
Oh my goodness, are you ready? I have all kinds of questions.
Oh, wonderful.
No, I don't. I do. The chart that you talked about earlier, is it this one?
Yes, yes.
Oh,
So
perfect.
that is the chart, and I'll actually let me write down and make sure I actually send that one too as well.
I think it was in the email you sent, or I don't know how I got it.
Yeah, I probably did send it in some email.
And
I'll double check and make sure, but it's called healthy options. So that is a really good option.
That's what I need too.
so we're
Yeah,
basically trying to stay in the green. Is that our, I mean, that's what we should be doing most of, is the green colored ones?
yeah, is great options are green, and you
Okay,
really don't have to worry too much when you're having the green options. Yellows are limit them, but don't not have them.
right.
Just look for them to be a little bit less on that side. And then the red options are like when it comes to meats, they're high fat content meats.
Okay,
Now, does that mean you can never have those? No, you just have to
right.
compensate for those in other pieces. So it's like if I am having a meat that has
Bacon.
a high fat source, I got to make sure like skin on chicken thighs. Then I know that I'm going to have to steam my vegetables and I'm going to have just a small amount of rice with just soy sauce, so I don't have any fats on it. So they're just to pay attention, like, oh, you can look at that, see, oh, it's a red, so I better be careful about some of my other choices. When it comes to those fruits and sides, then you're going to see that's specifically talking about basically sugars in it. And it'll say like what are the super high sugary content ones and what are the medium and what are the low.
Okay. And then on the app, it has a place for us to put pictures of ourselves, I'm assuming. What do you want?
So you can use that if you want, and you don't have to. That I'm not gonna lie, I don't look at your guys' pictures. It feels awkward to me to be like, oh, look at the
Right.
progress pictures and stuff. I feel like that's kind of a private thing. If you want to put it in there, it's cool. I do recommend if you are looking for that extra motivational piece, take a picture before, take a picture after. And give yourself that little bit of like, oh, so there are some changes that maybe I wouldn't notice regularly. So I do recommend do that. That's there just because in the nutrition world, that's what a lot of people like to do and see. But it's not a requirement by any means.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah.
And that's it. Oh, and then so after this, after we do this 4-week challenge, are we still going to have access to this app, or it's done after 4 weeks?
Nope, you'll have 100% access to the app. You just, unless you choose or look to go into further ongoing nutrition work, then I will not continue messaging frequently.
Right.
Yeah, but you'll still have access to both the apps. And I will say the MyFitnessPal app, you may have already, but you don't have to pay for that.
Right.
You can have just the free version, has everything that we would need for it.
Okay.
And then you will still have access, like that's a whole separate piece. And you'll still have access to the HSN app and the group forum. I find that some people still log on the group stuff every once in a while and will post things, but usually it starts to die off after a little while, but you'll still have full access to it.
Okay.
Yeah, and at any point in time you still have access, you can message me and be like, hey, I got a question. I'll be like,
Okay.
heck yeah.
Sounds good. I'm excited.
Perfect. Well, wonderful. So be expecting the emails in tomorrow, and I'll get everything set up. And then if you do have some questions Friday night, hit me up, or maybe this weekend and stuff as we start to get ramped up. This weekend, I'm definitely going to be kind of keeping my eye open just because we do start off on Monday, where normally on weekends I kind of fade off because I take my weekends. But this weekend I will be paying attention a little bit more just to make sure if people can get set up and everything before we ramp up into Monday.
Cool. Sounds
Good.
Cool. I will finish this recording and I will post it up for YouTube for everyone else to see. And thanks for coming out, ladies.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
And your haircut looks good.
I know, thank you.
Yes,
Wedding
not
haircut's
looking.
done. Now I just got to trim this.
You gotta get hitched.
Yeah.
Okay.